So,
Filming in the
today,
kitchen. I didn't know that's how you were going to start.
today we are going to talk about emergency plans and routes.
Emergency preparedness, of course. Okay, so we've moved house. We still have the normal house plan. Well, actually, we're still working that out because we don't know all the ins and outs that we had previously learned in our last place. However, today, what was our main focus? I think we might ask Taylor, is it?
Fire escape plan. So the base of it
Is it just fire or is it for anything if you need to get out?
It's like basically an escape route in case of anything goes wrong and you need to escape. So there was this one passage that...
So, and let's talk in increments.
Yeah.
What did we do first?
We first off started by looking at the satellite on Google Earth to see other possible routes before going out and looking at them ourselves. And also we looked at the bushy and watery areas to know the bushy areas we should try to avoid and the water areas we should try to get a little bit closer to.
Well, and know the layout. So basically know where water is, where potential pitfalls are. So I think that's, and also winds. Like if you're right next to the ocean and you don't know it, that would be weird. But yes, there's
How do you not know it?
I don't know. So then what did we do after we looked at all the maps and figured that out? What did we do?
We went out onto the road and we checked the route because we looked and we found one and it looks like it was disconnected and we were like that could be a possible route, so let's just go and see. So we went and looked and there was a huge gap.
So you couldn't take that road out. However, if you were looking at the map, you would think that you could because it lines up and it looks like it actually joins. So,
but there's actually a fence in the way.
Huge. And there's no actual path. Anyway, so again, when it comes to being prepared, it's not just a matter of looking at the map. You then have to, part of what we do is we put it into action. Does it work? Just like in the last time when we had our bags packed, can you carry them down the stairs? All of those
My
things.
answer was no, because I had so much.
Exactly.
Right.
But you knowing something in your mind and being able to physically do it are two different things. So it's really important to actually to be able to actually put them into practice. Yes.
Yeah. And the bags were too heavy because we had so much stuff back then. We had a huge bag.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the other thing is, with everything going on in Australia right now, we are not in New South Wales. We're in like the Brisbane-ish area. So we are very much outside of any kind of direct threat or expectation of threat. And when we do these preparedness preparations, we do that so that we can watch the news and we can actually immerse ourselves in knowledge and not actually feel anxious. Because we have a plan, we've played it out, we know as much as anyone can know that you are prepared, and that means everything. So when you see when we see the big sign on the highway that says get your bushfire plan into action now, I take this to mean physically get it in now, because you may not be in a regional area. You may be in suburbia next to the ocean and still have to deal with an emergency that is unprecedented. How many times in the news have we heard unprecedented? It's crazy.
Times.
So I know quite a few people who really plan and really think through everything and have some little go bags ready to go. all planned out. I think it makes us feel like, I don't know, like we've got this, and there's so much powerlessness in a situation that is a natural disaster, that if you can give yourself any step up, so that not only can you help yourself, but then you can be in a position potentially to help others, then that's even fantastic. But even just the helping yourself bit, if you've actually planned, driven the roads, generally know what to expect based on the conditions. Are there a lot of trees that could potentially be blocking your way out? Is there another way? So there are so many things. If we think about this, then we don't have to use more resources to get rescued. So they can go to someone who is vulnerable or unable to do any of the things that we're capable of. So if we're capable, then we get ready. And I can't stress that enough, because it's just out of these people's hands, and when you see the news footage, it's very sad, because they're in a situation where they're completely powerless. And because it's unprecedented, it's just a normal part of your mind to be like, well, that's what they're going to have to put up with, but we won't have to put up with it, because it's not going to come here. We're right next to the ocean. Now, the other thing I wanted to highlight is that there are some links that I'm going to be putting in the description down below. So for people affected, also for the Rural Fire Service. Rural Fire Service. Yeah, it is the RFS. So they're volunteer firefighters. There has been an excellent campaign set up, and at the end of the day, while this should be funded by the government, the people are putting forward their donations and sharing on social media, and that's all you can do. You can share, or you can donate, depending on what you can do, what you can afford. So our way forward is to share. So essentially, obviously we're a small channel, so it's not a matter of sharing to millions, but at the end of the day, that's what we can do.
Even if you share to a couple of people, everything counts. Like
everything counts. Yes. It really does. So I'm going to put that in the description below as well. I think we'll leave it there. There's a few more things we did. A few more things we noticed. Actually, I'm not sure if okay, the girls and I had a discussion about
the fire.
That's right. You remember when we went to the rubbish centre, so the recycling centre. So when we went there, there was a bit of a lineup. There was a lot of people who looked like they'd cleared away debris from their yard or wherever. So that was there. We talked about the Aboriginal fire burn-off method, the cold burn, exactly, and how it looked like in certain places that may have been put into place, just because the entire tree is flourishing, but there's probably about this much, well, not to your head, but like up to your hip worth of fire damage to the trees and the foliage around. That could essentially mean that someone threw a cigarette out of their car and it was managed quickly, which essentially is a similar thing, but basically it stops the excessive amount of radiant heat, and it doesn't make it burn hot and make it its own system. When you keep the temperature low in the burn and you get rid of the fuel for the fire, then that burn-off method is something that has worked for thousands of years.
Yeah.
They know the land before all the changes, and obviously they've worked their way through all the natural changes that happen, but again, it's like a different thing that is being dealt with now because obviously climate crisis is making things
10 times worse.
unprecedented. There's that word again.
Where's the news? Top 10 news.
Unprecedented. What is another word for unprecedented? Never before. Didn't we see something like that? Or there was something. Oh,
I never
if I see it, I'll put a link below. It was. It was an ABC show. Anyway, so that's us for today. I'll put the link below for donating to the RFS. Amazing volunteers. They give everything to their community. Such an important organisation. People just volunteering for their community. And they're being relied upon so heavily. Okay, so I think that's it from us today.
Be safe.
Be safe.
Okay.
And prepared.
Yes, and be prepared, so don't be scared.
What was that one from?
I don't know.
Monster
High.
Monster High, that's great. We haven't watched that in years.
Yeah, I still remember it. And I should subscribe and click the notifications bar to see notifications. We hope you enjoyed the video. We're saving Instagram and Twitter.
And feel free to share on all the socials. And I think we'll say goodbye here.
Okay, see you in the morning. See you in the morning.
See you in the morning.